The day my husband divorced me, he looked relieved. Not guilty, not conflicted. Relieved. He held his mistress's hand like a trophy, as if replacing me was an upgrade he couldn't wait to show the world. I stood there silent, dignified, broken, but not begging. What he didn't notice was the man seated quietly in the back of the courtroom, the man who had loved me since childhood, the man who had watched me suffer in silence, the man who was powerful enough to destroy him, but patient enough to wait. That day wasn't the end of my marriage, it was the beginning of his downfall. I wasn't born into luxury. Neither was he. When we married, all we had were dreams and unpaid bills. I believed in him when investors laughed. I stood beside him when friends walked away. I celebrated his smallest victories like they were miracles. I didn't just support him, I sacrificed. I delayed my own ambitions. I became his emotional shield. I turned our small apartment into a place of hope. And when his business finally took off, people praised him. No one asked who held him together when he almost gave up. Success didn't change our life overnight. It changed him, slowly, quietly, dangerously. As his wealth grew, his patience shrank. He stopped asking how my day was, stopped eating dinner with me, stopped seeing me. I told myself it was stress, that powerful men carried heavy burdens, but loneliness inside a marriage hurts more than being alone. I noticed the signs before the truth arrived, the sudden phone privacy, the unexplained smiles, the way he smelled like someone else's perfume. Still, I stayed silent, because loyalty, I believed, meant endurance. I didn't know it was teaching him how to replace me. I didn't meet her at first. I heard her name whispered at events. She's young, she's bold, she understands him, as if I never had. When I finally saw her, she wasn't apologetic. She looked proud, like she'd won something that had been left unattended. And then one night, without anger or shame, my husband said the words that shattered everything. I'm in love with someone else. No explanation, no remorse, just a decision. I didn't cry that night. I was too busy realizing how easily love can be discarded. The divorce papers arrived neatly prepared, like a contract termination. In court, he never looked at me. His lawyer spoke. His mistress smiled. I signed away years of loyalty in silence. But as I stood up to leave, I felt something strange, a presence, a familiarity. I turned my head, and there he was. Ethan, my childhood friend, my first love that never became a romance, the boy who used to defend me in school when no one else did. Now a man, powerful, watching quietly. Why was he there? And why did his eyes look like he'd been waiting for this moment? Ethan never interfered in my marriage, never crossed boundaries, never confessed. He watched from afar as I married another man, not because he didn't love me, but because he respected my choice. What I didn't know was that he had become one of the most powerful trillionaire investors in the world, hidden from media, feared by elites. After my divorce, he didn't offer sympathy. He offered opportunity. Come work with me, he said calmly. No pity, no charity, just your worth. I didn't know accepting that offer would rewrite my entire identity. Working with Ethan was not an overnight transformation. It was uncomfortable at first. I had spent years shrinking myself to fit into someone else's life. Now suddenly I was being asked to speak, to decide, to lead. Ethan never raised his voice, never underestimated me, never reminded me of my past. He treated me like I had always belonged at the table. In meetings, people listened when I spoke. My ideas were implemented, not questioned. Slowly, I realized something painful and freeing at the same time. I had never been weak. I had just been silenced. Late nights at the office turned into long conversations, not about love, but about vision, values, and integrity. Ethan knew when to step back. He never crossed emotional lines I wasn't ready to approach. and that restraint made him more dangerous to my heart. While I was rebuilding myself quietly, someone else was beginning to lose everything, without knowing why. Small. At first, the changes were small. A delayed deal, an investor pulling out unexpectedly, a partnership that suddenly went cold. My ex blamed the market, then his team, then bad luck. What he didn't know was that the silent financial backing that had protected him for years had disappeared. Not out of revenge, not out of anger, but because my life was no longer tied to his survival. The mistress began to complain. The luxury trips stopped. The gifts became fewer. And love built on money collapses the moment money hesitates. He still thought he was in control. He had no idea who had truly been holding him up all along. Months later, our paths crossed again at an international business summit. This time, I wasn't standing behind anyone. I walked in confident, calm, focused. My ex stared at me like he was seeing a stranger wearing my face. I wasn't dressed to impress him. I wasn't there to prove anything. I belonged there. The mistress stood beside him, uneasy, sensing something she couldn't name, power shifting. When Ethan joined me, the room changed. Executives greeted him with respect, mixed with fear. Deals paused. Conversations stopped. That's when realization finally hit my ex's face. He didn't just recognize Ethan, he remembered him from every contract that ever saved him. In a private meeting room, my ex finally asked the question his ego had avoided for years. Why? Why deals failed? Why support vanished? Why everything collapsed at once? Ethan answered calmly, without cruelty, because the reason I helped you no longer exists in your life. Then he looked at me. She was the only reason I ever protected you. Every bailout, every silent investment, every door that reopened after failure had come from Ethan. Not because of business, but because of love. My ex went pale. He didn't lose a wife that day. He lost his shield. Regret arrived, but it came too late to negotiate. Power to impress me. He didn't say, "Look what I did for you." He said, "Choose me only if you want me." That patience healed parts of me I didn't know were broken. For the first time, love felt safe, quiet, steady. I wasn't competing with another woman. I wasn't afraid of being replaced. I was chosen without conditions. Sometimes love isn't dramatic, it's consistent. When we married, there were no headlines screaming betrayal or victory, just a private ceremony. Few people, real peace. I didn't look back at my past with anger anymore, because the man who discarded me had already been punished by his own choices, and the man who waited for me was now walking beside me, proudly. A man who chooses excitement over loyalty doesn't just lose a woman, he loses the future she was protecting. And sometimes the most powerful love stories are written by people who knew how to wait. Do you believe patience is strength or missed opportunity? Comment below and subscribe for stories where loyalty gets the ending it deserves.